Top Med Talk.
Welcome to Top Med Talk. I'm Desiree Chappell, co-editor of Top Med Talk. One of the things here on Top Med Talk that we love to do deeper dives on are inventors and those who are forging a new path in anesthesia and creating things and devices that help us do our job better and improve patient safety and patient care. So today we have April King, who is a CRNA and who has invented a not so new device that has really helped improve the care of patients. April, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Well, April, I've been really excited about hearing more from you and this new device that's called JED. So why don't you tell us, first of all, what does JED stand for? And tell us a little bit more about yourself.
JED stands for Jaw Elevation Device. I'm a practicing CRNA. I've been a CRNA for over 25 years. I mainly work in private practice and in a hospital setting. I definitely do a lot of different kinds of anesthesia and different practices. And I found that, even when I was practicing as a student, there was never anything to help you during MAC anesthesia. There was just an oral airway and a nasal trumpet in your hands. So I found it really difficult to dance around the ballet of sedating a patient when there were times of needed, deeper sedation, when there was a needle out and there was localization happening. The patient would get apneic. And then all of a sudden that stimulation was gone. You would nut the patient, and then all of a sudden there could be motion of the patient, or the patient could occlude their airway. It was a very challenging situation versus just doing a general anesthetic where, you can just intubate and the patient's airway is secure. So MAC is a very challenging situation when you're a student learning. That was 25 years ago. And I actually thought of the idea when I was a student. I just thought, gosh, this is awfully complicated. Is there a better way where we can have this airway wide open, not have to worry about it? Found a patient getting too sedated, then I would have to go and drop some more medications or hang an IV or, document, and then the patient lose their airway. It was crazy. And, I also did volunteer work at the time. And I went around the world in different locations, even volunteering, and there's just nothing out there. So that's what gave me the impetus to kind of research a little bit more into it. And I discovered that there were so many different aspects in the areas of outside even the operating room where people were dying from an occluded or obstructed airway. So that gave me some more ideas to basically create and replace my hands and arms from holding open this jaw to prevent airway occlusion.
So modern anesthesia care, the patient is responsible really for maintaining their own airway, but many times what is supposed to be light sedation turns into a deeper sedation. And what I think in the industry, many of us call room air generals, where the patient could even lose airway reflexes. And so, I know my hand still starts to cramp up from those years of having to do jaw thrust and hold a patient's airway patently open. So this device helps maintain that airway and pushes up on the jaw, so it elevates the jaw.
You are absolutely correct. The JED is mainly designed to assist the provider to maintain an open airway, but it's done in a non-invasive fashion.
So nothing that goes in the mouth, no other type of oral or nasal kind of airway.
To worry about a spasm or a nosebleed or a depleted airway where they're coughing on something. I mean, just to tolerate an oral airway or nasal trumpet, you have to give more medication, right? Just for them to just tolerate that. And I wanted something non-invasive where the patient would breathe on their own, have a nice steady stream of medication going in, right? Via propofol infusion, and not have to worry about losing that airway.
I wanted to bring in a colleague of yours who you've been working with, Dr. Irene Osborn, join us today. Irene, if I may, thank you so much for joining us on Top Med Talk.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. It's Irene as in good night. Irene Osborn, no relation to Ozzy Osbourne. I am a practicing anesthesiologist. I over 40 years of experience. I currently work in an academic medical center. I'm actually on the East Coast. April's on the West Coast, and I'm on the East Coast. I'm at Montefiore Medical Center in Bronx, New York. So I've been practicing and teaching anesthesia for a longer time than you two have, but that's okay. And I've seen it. And I'm a 40 years. And I am a self-professed airway geek, and I always love new devices. I have worked with industry and also on my own to try to find great devices for airway management. And in my practice, which has primarily been neuroanesthesia, but every now and then you practice other places, I did adapt my practice. I now do a lot of non-OR anesthesia, or NORA as we call it. I'm fancy free and love to wander. And so I was met with the challenge of also providing sedation in remote locations. Now, April King was introduced to me back in, we think, maybe 2008 by the LMA company. LMA North America was marketing this idea and they said, "Hey, Irene, can we try this product out?" And I said, "Sure." So they brought this thing and I saw it, and it's the only airway device that I tried on myself. Okay. I've never intubated myself. Wow. Any of those wacky stuff. It's like, I call it the Japanese pillow. Okay. You put your head in it, and then there are these lovely little Tempur-Pedic cups that go under your mandible, and then you just kind of lay there. And I have a photo of myself in it that I show sometimes when I talk about this, and it's brilliant. And in my experience, occasionally you get sent to these rooms like, okay, the bunion room, you're in the bunion room and it's sedation. They don't want to hear the patients talk. You put the JED on the patient, and then all of a sudden they're breathing, they're comfortable. You can chart, you can do whatever you have to do, and you're monitoring capnography. So we're doing really safe anesthesia with a simple device. April, you're a genius.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when I heard about this, because I haven't used it, I'm like, wow. I mean, it makes complete sense to any of us who've been in those bunion rooms. Irene. Uh, but I think what I wanted to get in and really ask you about, Irene, and April, you can add some color to this too, is that you hit the nail on the head. We're doing more non-operating room anesthesia. We're doing more sedation cases. We're trying to get away with trying to do more with less. And our patient population, I don't know about you guys on the East and West Coast, but I'm in middle America in Kentucky. And the increase in BMI of patients over the years really created a lot more obstructive sleep apnea and things like that. Irene, why don't you walk us through why we need something like this?
Sure. I wish I had some adequate statistics for you, but clinically, when I started using this device, and I immediately bought one from the company, and I bought several to bring to my department, we actually started using it originally in interventional radiology for our stroke patients because we needed to keep their heads still. At that time, we were doing thrombectomies, and these patients needed something to keep them still while they quickly did an endovascular procedure. It worked, and we did a small study where we showed consistent oxygen saturation, less desaturation, and of course, you could be away from the field. You don't want to get radiated. So that was useful until our group decided they didn't want to do MAC anymore. They wanted everyone intubated. So we kind of had to scratch it. And there was another issue with the workings of the device being not exactly radiolucent. So they would say, one of these things here. However, we did get to publish a case report where we used the JED to keep a patient's head absolutely still for 6 hours. Why? Because they did a carotid puncture. This was a stroke case. They did a carotid puncture, and the surgeon said, "How am I going to keep her head still for 6 hours?" I'm like, "I got just the device." We had the patient comfortably placed in the JED, breathing. And so basically, there's no lateral movement of the head, which is one of the factors to know. That got published in World Neurosurgery, and you can find it online. Going back to your comments, yes, I've also clinically used this and I'm struggling to get it published for men having prostate seed radiation. So these are usually patients. We're in a remote part of the hospital. They're in lithotomy position. Frequently, they are large and have OSA, and they don't want to feel anything, and they're putting a needle inside the prostate. So without an anesthesia machine, you can set them up, get them comfortable, and with minimal adjustments, maintain their breathing while we do the procedure. And we're talking deep sedation. We're talking propofol, fentanyl, midazolam, and a bit of ketamine just to, spice it up. So
Even things out a little bit.
yeah, I've had excellent success. The studies that have been performed, and one was in Japan and one was in Korea, was using the device for TAVRs. So basically, in procedures where you needed the patient under sedation and not moving. And it's difficult because you can't really blindly say, oh, I'm going to do this. You can look at the vital signs and record consistent, good lack of variability. And we've been able to do that. Our series on brachytherapy, which is directed radiation, these are 3-hour procedures. We've had patients as high as, I think my record was 400 pounds. That was the limit that we could manage with the jaw elevation device and sedation.
And if I could interject, to me, the coolest thing is that the device can be used from around age 6 all the way up to, say, 400 pounds. Because it has a 3-way moving apparatus, the mandible cups that go on the angle of the mandible and elevate it, they do have that ability to go from, say, around age 6 on up because of its moving apparatus, right? So it's not based on weight, it's just based on jaw width. So it's fabulous because you can use it for over 5,000 different type of MAC cases. I mean, think about your bread and butter cases, like total hip replacement. Okay, well, that's a regional anesthetic, but you're gonna run a propofol infusion, right? So you want to have your hands free. I mean, those are the bread and butter cases that are done all the time, and people struggle just keeping their airway open.
Yeah. Well, April, going back a little bit to the I mean, you had talked about like why you did it. For those who are curious about or have ideas themselves, this was a bit of a laborious process, I'm sure. But this is FDA approved. I mean, you've gone through the rigors of the entire process here. Very briefly, can you just walk us through what it looked like for you, like maybe timeline or, just a little bit more color to that?
Sure, no problem. So originally, obviously I had to create a prototype, right? So we had to have an engineer and designer involved. And this created a team. So I had another anesthesiologist on board, I had a serial inventor on board, I had a business individual on board. And we all would meet on a weekly basis to kind of have this evolution and create this prototype till finally we were sort of happy with it. And we went into the hospital setting. You're allowed to try it on a few patients. The patient we tried it on was 450 pounds undergoing a thrombectomy, and it worked. But because it was a prototype and only made out of like hardened wax, if you will, and of course the patent process was very interesting. We have 3 patents on the device. There's a utility patent and 2 design patents for the mandible cups. So that was also, a big, huge endeavor. And then, of course, bringing it to market and having it actually manufactured creates a whole nother design issue as far as, having that device pop out of molds and, doing plastic injection molding, and creating like, where are you sourcing all your products from? So the whole device is actually made in the USA. There's nothing done outside the US. So we're very proud of that. Uh, yeah, and we manufacture it locally. We have a strict QA process. This device is, although it's not sterile, it can be utilized for any time that the patient's airway can come, be obtunded. I mean, it can be used in an ambulance setting. It can be used in an operating room,
Oh,
recovery rooms. Because there's no metal parts, it can be utilized in MRI. It can be utilized, as she said, in interventional radiology. There's so many different arenas. There was a study that the Naval Academy here in San Diego and did a study for in vitro, so IVF,
yeah.
right? So patient super deep, but you don't want to occlude the airway. You want them to breathe. You don't want a moving abdomen for the surgeon. I mean, again, there's just so many different uses that come to my mind. I even had practitioners come to me and say, hey, I place it on my kids. I don't have anybody else to help me put an IV in, so I can actually put it on the kids, strap a mask on, go down, start an IV, come over, and the airway is in the perfect position. I just laid in and put a tube in. You can use it for extubation, for instance. If you don't want the airway to occlude, you worry about maybe spasming at the end of the case on maybe a very large OSA patient. You can extubate the patient. You can bring the patient over in recovery with this on. You don't have to worry about that airway occluding. So practitioners find their own ways of using it. I even hold practitioners using it for short general anesthetics for like a DSC. I've heard folks, I mean, yeah, sometimes you put an LMA even and it doesn't give you that good tidal volume. You put on a JED, there you go.
Let me ask you,
Why-
is this a disposable or are these reusable?
The device itself is reusable. It just gets wiped down with your disinfectant wipes in the operating room. However, the mandible cups that touch the patient, those are disposable. You can recycle them because the product is made from just, plastic and foam. So they are
right.
recyclable. So that helps the hospital too. However, the head support is reusable. So you can get rid of all those disposable donuts.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, Irene, I wanted to kind of get your view from an educator and someone that has been in the space of teaching our young doctors and also seeing the array that is available to be able to use this product. What do you feel like the future of this is? Is this something that we feel like we can see in hospitals all over in all types of different settings? Do you feel like adoption for many people is going to be in one setting or the other? Like, what do you think the possibilities are for this?
I think there's a lot of possibilities, but the thing is the device has to be there because we had one in our EP lab because every now and then for, electrophysiology, they want to do it under Mac and the patient may be not the best candidate for Mac, but if it's there and you can do it, it's there. But if you don't have it available, it's not going to be used. At one time, I was attempting to teach fiber optics with it, and it was pretty good. It was okay, but there was a little bit of collapse with obviously deeper anesthetics. For outside the operating room, we keep one in radiation oncology. We now keep one. My colleagues who do IVF sedation on the weekends now have one in their thing. Speaking of sustainability, we like the fact that you don't have to utilize a machine and volatile agents and tubing because this, when done properly, is a very, very green type of anesthetic procedure. I don't know, as a neuroanesthesiologist, I actually put the biz on and on one of our patients, and they were completely within the realm of unconsciousness, but breathing just fine.
Can I tell an anecdotal story? Oh my gosh. Okay. So I want you to know that Irene was, and again, she is not affiliated with our company.
No,
All right. She's just approaching like
that's a part.
right. So, but here's how I met Irene. LMA of North Americas wanted to have some airway gurus around the country try the device, right? And this is when it was still a prototype when I met Irene. She is literally the first physician in our country to try the device. They flew to New York City. At that time, you worked in Cedar Sinai.
Mount Sinai.
Both.
Mount Sinai's New York. Yeah.
His patient, and Irene was so excited. She put the BIS monitor to see how deep she could get the patient and still maintain an open airway.
That's fantastic.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And I know you got that patient really deep, but I don't remember. I don't remember the number on the BIS, but it was very impressive.
Yeah. I think for the future, I'm excited about everything in anesthesia. I'm looking forward to target controlled infusions. I think we can take this into the future and make sedation easy again. Okay. Make Mac easy again.
That's amazing. I think we need to put that on the can there.
Say it again. Can I say that? Oh,
Make Mac great. Yeah, I think something along those lines. Yeah. I mean, to me, the opportunities to be able to use this, again, one of the things on Top Med Talk that we continue to have conversations about and really support is anything that helps us do our job. One, makes it easier for us in, like, I mean, provider satisfaction with our job. I mean, it is hard work to do some of these MAC cases and sedation. It really is. But also, in the end, making it the safest thing for our patients. And we all know those calls that you get in emergency cases for Nora, where you're doing a sedation in the endoscopy lab and in the suite there, or you are doing something in an MRI and we lose that airway. It's catastrophic. And to me, like this, it really is going to provide a closing the gap for us in that space. So that's what I love about this. And whenever I first saw it, I was like, oh, this, like, the light bulb went off, and it makes perfect sense. Guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today and telling us more about JED and highlighting the impact that this can have on anesthesia and patient safety. I think it's phenomenal. April, in closing, where can we find this device? Like, if I want to go out and I want to purchase this for my OR or for the sedation that I'm doing, if I'm working in a plastics office or wherever, where can I get this?
Sure. Just go to hypnozdevices.com. That's our website. Or you can Google JED. It should pop up. But yeah, hypnozdevices.com. Hypnos is the Greek god of sleep. Devices.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. Well, we'll put the link in the show note for sure. Irene, anything from you?
Yeah, I just want to say, MAC is monitored anesthesia care. It's also minimal airway control, but we don't want it to be mostly apneic and cyanotic.
I love that. That needs to be in a paper somewhere too, or some
T-shirt.
some editorial.
Thank you so much. It's been delightful.
Yeah, it's been great, you guys. And thank you for listening to Top Med Talk. You can always find us at topmedtalk.com. We're on your favorite social media platform, YouTube as well. You'll be able to find clips of the video from there. If you like what you're seeing, please give us a thumbs up, share with your friends. It's always good to spread the word. And thank you to our sponsors for keeping Top Med Talk free and open access to everyone around the world. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Cheers.
All right.
Top Med Talk. Thanks for downloading Top Med Talk. Don't forget to subscribe, check us out on YouTube, and of course on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and X. Also, it's important to remember that Top Med Talk is the broadcasting arm of EPOM, evidence-based perioperative medicine. We'd love you to find out more about that, and the way to do that is epom.org. Check out our website and find out about some of the incredible conferences we're going to be arranging across the year. epom.org.